Hello, I'm back from the dead. Unfortunately for me I wasn't dead, but I was playing H12-3 instead. The record on this map used to be 10 operators. I got the basic idea of how to do 9 operators, would be to not stall the last boss and add more damage to kill it before it reaches the blue box on the right. And then I thought, this seems a bit too easy. I wonder if 8 operators is possible. And then a week went by without me doing literally anything else. Fun times! Anyway, after about a week, I decided that the last bit of health on the boss is untouchable, and I gave up on it. So I decided to just do 9 operators. If one of the operators seems useless to this run, and that it's barely used until the end, that is why. So, at the start, we just use our defenders and cutters to get a DP cap of 40. We need at least 38, so we can constantly redeploy Quora and Bubble later in the run. This will stall the boss because they have such high defense that by the time the boss starts actually doing damage to them, the other one is ready to replace. This takes a ton of DP and makes redeploying other operators very difficult. On the left side, we just use Gavio and Cutter. We wait until the boss passes to not reveal it. We want the boss to walk through Indigo's range without taking any hits from her, because we will need those hits right after to kill the big 3-block dude. The reason Cutter is there is so she can help with the 3-block dudes by doing some extra damage to them, like that. And we'll start swapping defenders even now. Quartz is the main DPS for the boss later. The boss has about 900 defense and 50 res, so with her high attack, Quartz does about 700 damage per hit, even without using her skill. She also helps with the 3-block dudes. With her high attack she can almost kill both of them on her own. We always make sure to use Bubble first and Quora second there. It's so we can use Quora's skill to catch a 3-block dude later, since we're lacking a bit of damage to kill them on one trip. Perfumer has to be on the right to heal Durnar or some other medic. Despite how tanky Durnar is, these guys do a lot of damage, so a dedicated medic is needed there. So every step forward from now is just setting up the ending to get as much damage as I can to kill the boss. Ideally I would have Quartz 2 tiles to the left of Bubble, but that's not really feasible to set up. Normally the next part here takes about 10 minutes of spamming Cutter S2, but we had some kind of bug pipe that started doing a lot of damage to the boss suddenly. About the same as Bagpipe S3 would do. I don't know what that's about. After about 5 minutes of this, we have Gavio healing Quartz, and Cutter is only hitting one of the clones. It's really important that the clone on the left is not split boxed into the defender tile for 3 different reasons. First, if it's split boxed into it and Cutter can hit it, we will kill the boss too quickly during the second phase. Second, Cutter will just outright die during the boss transition, because she will get hit by 2 AoEs instead of just 1. And third, it will occupy Cutter S2 space. She only hits 6 targets, and on drone waves we might end up with more than 6 targets, if we have 2 clones in range. There is something interesting to be mentioned about the drone wave. When they spawn they do some elemental damage, and then they do an attack. If you kill the drone before the attack lands, the attack doesn't do any elemental damage, only the physical damage. Durnar barely survives on top, because she kills the enemies before they finish her off, and we're relying on Quartz and Indigo to clear the wave of 3-block dudes. Now, we're waiting until the drone hits, so it can apply the elemental debuff. This is because we want the elemental debuff applied on the second wave instead of the third one. Why will become clear in a second. We use Deep Cover here for a bit of extra damage, but it doesn't matter, it's just purely cutter bind RNG. Maybe Deep Cover helps improve the RNG a bit, but we're just relying on Indigo landing binds on the 4th Tribok dude, so he can be stout enough. This works about 2 out of 5 times in my experience. Usually I just reset here. Once the enemies are dealt on top and Durnar is back to full health, we retreat Perfumer. Remember when I mentioned that the best spot for Quartz would be on the left of Bubble? Yeah, we're kind of gonna need her there, and because Gavio will die without somebody clearing drones off of her, we're going to use Perfumer to offset that by having her heal both Gavio and Quartz. We get the lucky binds and are able to progress to the final wave. When Perfumer is about 10 seconds away from being revived, we are getting rid of Gavio, but we'll leave Quartz there to keep stalling the boss. The boss will use the drones before Quartz dies, like that. Then we deploy Perfumer, which leaves us exactly enough DP to swap the defender. And now we just make sure to kill the drone instantly. Otherwise the proc will kill Indigo. Perfumer is back on the field, so the healing will keep Durnar alive through the drone and heal up Indigo for the next wave. Though we don't need her to actually tank that. The reason we have Indigo and Durnar still deployed is because we're using them to bank DP for us, since the DP cap is so low, at 40. I'm artificially heightening it by keeping the DP deployed. I'm a bit afraid that the boss will use the single target attack instead of the drone wave, because both are about to be off cooldown. It used the drone wave, so now we drop Gavio and drop a defender to tank the single target attack. And we'll get enough DP before the boss reaches the blue box. We could have waited a bit more to deploy Quartz, but I'd get capped on DP. And I need to swap my defender soon. On top of that, the boss seems to have a bit too much health for what I'm doing. The reason we're using Deep Cover here is to push the clone into the defender when we swap, so that the clone in the middle enters Cutter's range and we can get her full DPS off. The drone spawning from the tentacle doesn't matter, it won't cause an issue, since we're using Perfumer S2. The drone started moving towards Quora, so it didn't even matter. Now, we're only a few Quartz hits away from dropping the boss below 50% health, so we're deploying Durnar to get executed by the boss Q. And we're saving all of our skills for the last 50%. Because the last part has 60% damage reduction with 75,000 health at 50%, that's effectively the same as having 194,000 health. So this boss is rather tanky, yeah. The ranged attack is still on cooldown, so Indigo was safe to deploy. Then we use one tentacle to stall the boss on the right for a bit, so Indigo has time for her skill to load up. And to tank any stray hits, while Deep Cover skill is charging for later. Now Quora has barely any defense left, but she will live long enough to be replaced by Boo. Now with Cutter hitting 2 targets, Quartz hitting 2 targets, and Indigo and Tentacle stalling the last boss, we are racing to do about 200,000 damage to the boss. The reason for that is because of the damage reduction. At 50% health the boss has 75,000 health with 900 defense and 50 res. 60% damage reduction with 75,000 health is effectively 194,000 health. God, I hate this boss. Cutter is still drone clearing, keeping Deep Cover and Indigo alive, while we're cycling tentacles and binds to keep the boss in place. I tried to do this without Deep Cover for a really long time. The closest I was able to get was about 5,000 damage from death on the boss. Basically it would require a line where you replace Bubble with Quora really late after the boss has spawned, but still not have Cutter die to a ranged attack, and then you're eventually able to place Bubble down at the bottom to stall even more after a set of perfect indigo binds. It's not impossible, but every attempt, even with the bug pipe, takes about 15 minutes, so eventually I gave up on it. Maybe I'll try it again in the future.